Welcome to this new tutorial series on 3D modeling in Blender. This series is designed for complete beginners, and my goal is to help you get up and running in Blender quickly without feeling overwhelmed. After learning the basics, you will learn how to create simple product photography props, apply materials, and use studio lighting techniques. At the end of just 14 days or even less, you will have created this render. For those who don't know, I specialize in realistic product rendering, and I teach this inside my training program, Deja Design Academy. So I know a thing or two about product rendering, alright? So if you're ready to start learning Blender and create something that you're truly proud of, let's get right into it by downloading Blender. So go to your browser and type in blender.org and then click on the download button here. It takes you to this page and you download Blender. If you're using macOS, click on this drop down and select macOS. When you launch Blender for the first time, you will be greeted with this splash screen that I don't think you will use much. So just left click anywhere outside. I will show you later on how to disable that on startup. One thing I must mention, you will have a much better experience if you're using a keyboard with a numpad and a mouse with a scroll wheel. If you don't have these, simply go to Edit, Preferences, and under Input, click on Emulate Numpad and Emulate 3-button mouse. But as mentioned, the experience will be much better if you have the keyboard with the numpad and the mouse with the scroll wheel. While we're in the preferences, let's change a few settings to make life a bit easier for us. So click on Interface and change the resolution scale to suit your needs. Mine is set to 1.15. This is the splash screen checkbox. By default, it's enabled, and that's why it will show up anytime you open Blender. But I have it disabled, so just uncheck that if you don't want that. Next, you go down to, we already went to input. Let's go to navigation and make sure we have auto perspective and auto depth turned on. Also zoom to mouse position. Finally, click on system, and if you have an NVIDIA graphics card, you can enable that by clicking here and use optics. If not, we could use CUDA. And that's it for now. We'll come back to this later on. So let's press X to get rid of the set preferences window. All right, so what are we looking at here? This main area here is called the 3D viewport. This is where we will be working most of the times. We'll be creating everything within this space here. Off to the right, this is called the outliner. This actually outlines all the objects and items in our 3D viewport. Below that is called the properties window, the properties editor. And here there are a bunch of settings that affect the different objects in our scene. It looks complicated, but by means of repetition and by means of use, you will get to understand and will be comfortable with this. We wouldn't go through all of them in detail one by one, but you will get to know the ones that are familiar or the ones that you will use pretty often. Below here, this is called the timeline editor. This is what we use for animation, or one of the editors that we use for animation. You notice I mentioned editors. Well, if I hover the mouse here, you'll see editor type timeline. And if I hover the mouse up here, we'll see editor type 3D viewport. So that is what these are called. These are editor windows. And they're all within the layout workspace. There are a few workspaces here, but we don't have to be switching between workspaces because Blender is very customizable. So within the layout or the default layout workspace, let's say I want to do some UV editing. Instead of having to click on UV editing in the layout workspace, I can hover the mouse to the top left, and when it turns across here like this, I can left click and then drag to the right to create another editor. They're both the same, but I could click on this drop down and switch it to UV editor, for example. And I can use this to adjust the width as I want. If I want to close this back down, I can do the same thing, hover the mouse in the corner until it turns across there, left click and gesture to the right. Or let me right click to cancel that. I could also right click on the border when it turns a double arrow, right click here and join left. If I join right, then the UV editor will take up the whole space. If I join left, then it will be back to where we started. So let me join left and it's back to where we started. I've enabled the screencast keys so you can see exactly what I'm pressing. If you press and hold the scroll wheel, that's called the middle mouse button, then you could press and hold and move the mouse and it will rotate the scene. If I press shift before and then hit the middle mouse button, it will pan. So I could pan around the scene like this. This is a good time to practice because this is what you'll be doing most of the time while modeling. So you could press and hold the middle mouse button to rotate, and you could hold shift and to pan, shift and then press the middle mouse button to pan. If I want to zoom in, you scroll the middle mouse button, and zoom out, you scroll it back. And the mouse position matters. So you hover over the mouse over the cube, and you could press the middle mouse button to rotate. You could press shift and rotate exactly what you want to see. It's a good habit to practice doing that while zooming, so you can get familiar with how to navigate around the scene. If you left clicked, it will select any object. There's a setting to change it to right click as well, but most people use left click to select. In Blender, you could also box select. So I could hover the mouse here, click and drag to box select. I could select these two. And if I want to select this as well, if I box select this, it will only select that. What if I want all? Then I box select this and I press shift and box select that to get all. Or I could click out to disable everything. I could press A to select everything. In Blender, there are a lot of shortcuts, but there are some that you'll use pretty often. For example, A to select all. You can also press Alt A to deselect. If I press A to select all, you can also double tap A to deselect. If I press A to select all, you could left click to deselect. There are many ways to do stuff in Blender, but you could do what works for you. I press A to select and Alt A to deselect. I've got in the habit of doing that. When you press A to select, another shortcut which is easy is X to delete. You can press X and click delete objects. And if you didn't want to do that, you could press Ctrl Z to undo. It's mouse sensitive, so the position of the mouse matters. If I hover the mouse over here in the outliner, remember I said the outliner, it outlines all the objects in the scene. So if I hover the mouse here and press X, it deletes everything. Ctrl Z to undo. If I hover the mouse here and press X, nothing happens. So the position of the mouse matters. What if I want to change the view? Then I could, just like we learned before, press and hold the middle mouse button to rotate. I could change the view. But suppose I want it like dead on. Then I could use the numpad buttons. So if I press 1, that will be front view. If I press 3, that will be side view. And if I press 7, that will be top view. So instead of having to navigate and try to get it like this, you can press 7 for top view and you will get an orthographic view dead on. These lines that you're seeing here, this is the x-axis, the red, and the green line is the y-axis. But we are in 3D, so these are only two axes, but the other axis is the z-axis. We can't see it because it's disabled by default. If I click here in the overlays, I can enable it here, Z. You'll notice that is the z-axis going up and down. You could also observe that by the gizmo across here. X for red, Y green, and Z blue. Let me disable this for now. So we know that this is the z-axis going up. That means if we have to move this, we can left click it, and I didn't teach you this before, but we could press G to grab. And if I want to move it in the x-axis, if I press G, then I can press X to move it in the x-axis. If I press G and then press Y, it constrains to the y-axis. And if I want to move it up and down, guess what? I press G and then press Z to move it up and down. What about if I want to rotate this in a specific axis? Same thing, I press R and then X, it rotates in the x-axis, Y in the y-axis, and so on. To get into basic modeling in Blender, there are a few things that you need to know and the rest will fall in place after. What I'll be showing you here, you don't have to follow after me, but you could sit back and listen, and as we go through the series, then we'll be practicing these things. But you'll be learning exactly what you need to know, and as I mentioned, the rest will fall in place after. There are two main modes while modeling. There's object mode and edit mode. Right now we are in object mode. We can see that on the top left here, object mode. If I click this drop down, we will see edit mode. If I click this, then the cube, the object will be in edit mode. Let me press Alt A to deselect that. And instead of clicking here to switch between object mode and edit mode, there's another shortcut, tab. You will hear that a lot. Tab into edit mode, tab out of edit mode. So tab into edit mode, And what you will notice are there are these three buttons to the top here. This is vertex select, edge select, and face select. What are these? Well, if I click on vertex select, these dots you see here, that is called a vertex. If I select two dots and they are joined together, that's called an edge. So this here is an edge. And if I select four vertices, then I've just selected a face. Yes, four vertices make up a face. Also, four edges make up a face. And while modeling, you could switch between these select modes to get finer selections, exactly what we want. So for example, if I want to select these two vertices, I could be in vertex select to select these two vertices, or I could go in edge select and just select the edges. If I want to select the ring of this face to the top, I could shift and left select these edges here and I'll select the face, or I could simply just go to face select and click once to the top here and select that face. Of course, there are shortcuts. To the top of the keyboard, press 1 for vertex select, 2 for edge select, 3 for face select. As mentioned, you don't have to follow along, but I'm telling you this because we will get into this and you will practice and get in the habit of all these things. But this is for you to know. Remember, we are trying to edit this mesh. So if we want to scale this, for example, it's easy. I can press S to scale. Press S, and you see that white dotted line there. Then I could use that and hover the mouse left to right to scale. I could scale in or scale out. And once I press left click, I confirm the editing of that mesh. Control Z, of course, to undo. I could also press I to inset. So click on I and it insets that face to the top there. Left click again to confirm. If I press E, it extrudes faces. So those are three things that you learned there so far. You learned, let me undo that. You learned S to scale. You learned I to inset. And you also learned E to extrude. So you could start by doing this and get the hang of this. You could also extrude down, by the way. All right, let me Control Z to undo that. Another very common tool you'll be using is called the loop cut. To enable the loop cut, you hover the mouse over wherever you want to add a loop cut and press Control R. And so we could left click, and before we right click to confirm, we could move it exactly where we want. Or if we just simply click right click, it will stay in place in the middle there. We could hover the mouse across here and press Control R to add a loop cut there as well. And we could press left click and right click. Suppose we want to, let's say we want to extrude just these two faces. We could go to face select. We could click on this one and hold shift and click on this one and press E to extrude. That's just an example of what we could do. While modeling, let me backspace to Control C to undo that. I like to set this cube to the top. So what I usually do, I press A to select everything, and I press G, and I want to press Z to move it up in the Z axis. And if I press, let's do that again, G, Z, and I press 1, it'll move it 1 blender unit, and it will actually sit on the plane. If I press 1 for front view, you'll see that. All right. So I like to work on top here, and in edge mode, face select, I click on this top face, I press E to extrude, left click to confirm. I switch to edge select, so I press 2 to the top of my keyboard, left click that top there, shift left click this, and if I press X, collapse edges and faces, now we have something that looks like a house. As I mentioned, I'm just showing you what is possible, and you will get the hang of these things pretty quickly. But these are some of the common tools that you'll be using. There are a whole bunch of tools, but simple modeling that we are doing, and these are some of the common tools. You don't always need to begin with a cube to start modeling. Let me show you. Let me tab out of edit mode and turn off the visibility of the cube by clicking this eye icon here. I can click up here and press add, and add another mesh, a mesh plane for example, and press press GX and move that across. I could add, for example, add a mesh torus, and let's move that across, GX. Instead of pressing add to add a mesh, of course there's a shortcut for that, and the shortcut is, which is very familiar, Shift A. So Shift A, you can add a mesh UV sphere. Shift A, you could add a mesh cylinder. All of these are called primitives, and you can press Shift A to add any of these meshes to begin modeling. Of course, you saw a number of other options here, but we're focusing on modeling for now. So you'll get to know all of that in time. But for now, we press Shift A to add these mesh primitives. And there's one more important tool that you need to know about while modeling. They're called modifiers. You'll find that over here in the wrench tool. There are a bunch of modifiers, and you could select an object and you could add different modifiers to it. There are some main modifiers that you'll be using pretty often, like the bevel, array, mirror, solidify, subdivision. What are modifiers? Well, to put simply, they are operations that you could perform on an object that are not permanent. So you can change it at any time. Let me show you what I mean. And to give you an example, I will introduce another tool that I didn't tell you about, which is the bevel tool. If I press A to select all the edges, vertices, faces, everything on this object, this house, and I press Ctrl B, and I move my mouse, I could bevel this. Now I could scroll the mouse wheel, so I could bevel by one segment, or two or three. For example, I could left click and tab out of edit mode and see how that looks. Really nice. So I've just smoothed out the edges there. But here's the thing. If I tab into edit mode, if I want to reduce this, we added 3 segments. If I want to reduce it to 2 segments, it will be very difficult. Actually, if I press Ctrl Z, and then it will just go back to what it was before. And I can't get back what I did without doing it over again. Ctrl B, and then I have to scroll the mouse wheel down to get 2 segments. All right, but let me show you what a modifier does now. Let me press Ctrl Z. If I add modifier and add a generate bevel modifier, right now we are beveling by 1 segment. So you see it's 1 segment. If I tap out of edit mode, you see 1 segment. If I increase it by 2 segments, tab into edit mode, you will notice it's difficult to see, but if I turn on wireframe, you see it a lot better. You see 2 segments there. If I click 3, you see 3 segments. And unlike without the modifier, I could adjust this. So I could turn this off, or I could turn it on and come back and edit this at any time that I want. Whereas before, if I did not have a modifier, then it will be destructive. Is what we call destructive modeling. This is called non-destructive modeling because we could come back and edit it at a later time. This was just one example to demonstrate what a modifier is, what a modifier does. But it's one of the tools that you'll be using, or one of the many modifiers that you'll be using while modeling. Remember in the introduction, I said that after modeling, we could add colors and then add lights and then like take a picture. Let me show you an example of that so you can get the whole idea of this concept when we model something and render it. That's what it's called. So you see how I have this somewhat looking like a house? Well, if I tab out of edit mode, and we have a light here. So let me bring this light across here to the front. And is it to the front? Not really, because we're not in the correct view. So if I press 7 for top view, I can move it around here. And notice the camera is here, pointing here. All right, so let's move this light a bit up. G, Z, move it up. And I'm going to change the properties of this light. So I go across here to the properties editor, and I come down to the bulb, data properties. And let me just increase this probably like 100. Let's see if that works. And I want to go into render view. So I click here to go into render view. And you notice it's lighting up that. But I want to look through the camera. So I can click on the camera and I can press 0 on the numpad. And I'm actually looking through the camera. And all I need to do, keep in mind, when I click on that shutter button, so to speak, all these grid lines would not come out. Only the object. So if I click on render image, I wait a bit, and it will render this object that looks somewhat like a house, right? So that's just the concept. I wanted to show you that. Of course, it will look much prettier than that as you saw in the thumbnail, but that is the idea behind it. We model it, and then of course we will add colors and light. If that got you excited, not really the house, but the idea of modeling your own stuff, let's get right into the series and jump into our 14-day challenge of modeling product photography props in Blender.